So we go to the next day at work, and Naoto is hiding inside the gym because Hazuki keeps showing up wherever Naoto is and being like, "I love you. Hey, want to go out?
Have I told you lately that I love you?" Like, yeah, 10 minutes ago, man.
Yep. So. Hello and welcome to Comic Dissection, the comic book club podcast where we talk about comic books through an intersectional leftist lens. I am Cecilia Rose, and with me, as always, is Reno Valentino.
Hola, hi, and hey. And konnichiwa.
You got any more?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay.
I should. I'm sure I do, but they're not coming to me at this early time of the morning. They aren't. But, yeah. Hi, everybody.
Hi. So, this week we have read Hate Me But Let Me Stay, or a Japanese name that I cannot pronounce for my life. So,
Kirabe Izote, maybe. I'm not even sure if I wrote it down right, but possibly that.
I have always pronounced it as Kiraide Asasete. Kiraide Asasete. Because there's definitely a D. That's definitely.
Oh, I have it as an L.
Yeah. But It's, in English, it has been translated to Hate Me But Let Me Stay.
Yeah.
It is an Omegaverse BL.
Boy, have I got questions about Omegaverse.
Do you?
Yeah,
questions about
so
Omegaverse?
many questions. You just let me know when I can start asking questions, because I got questions.
Well, you can...
I don't know if you prepared a speech about
a speech.
the Omegaverse. That's probably, after you give your speech, I'll ask my questions, if in fact I still have any. Perhaps your speech will be so good, all my questions will be answered.
I meant to do it earlier, but I forgot. I was trying to remember Hijiki? Hijiki.
Presented by, yeah. That's who is our presenter. So I assume that is our writer and...
Story and art by Hijiki, yeah.
Yep.
So, Volume 2 is already available for pre-order. Guess what I'm going to be doing the moment we're done with this?
Yeah.
All right.
First of all, I will go ahead and say, when this ended, I was like, well, that's perfect. Don't do no more of this story. This is a perfect end, happy ending. I feel good about things.
Yeah.
Please don't come back to this and have these people suffer more.
They don't.
Oh.
So actually,
the next part, they're just hanging around.
They get to be happy.
That's nice.
All of their problems, for the most part, are normal relationship problems.
Yeah.
Like, there is a little bit of drama in the next one. There's a tiny touch. But it is mostly solved, and it still ends in a happy place. They just get to have a happy ending.
Well, isn't that nice?
That's one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite... This is one of my comfort reads. I go back to this... Granted, I usually skip over the first volume because it's really fucking sad.
Yeah.
But I go back to this a lot whenever I want something to reread. I go right back to this one. It makes me happy. The couple gets to be happy. There's sincere love and devotion between the main pairing. And you get some side couples that also have that same kind of, like... It's all, like, very nice. This is a nice, fluffy thing that gets to happen.
Yeah.
So, I do have a little spiel...
Yes, please.
For you to start. So, I say by now, I wrote down, by now you may have an idea of what Omegaverse or ABO is, but basically it's a type of fiction that involves alpha, beta, and omega dynamics. Alphas are basically the impregnators. Regardless of gender, they can get someone pregnant.
Okay.
Beta are most like common people. They're kind of what mainstream concept of gender is, like... Dudes are dudes and chicks are chicks and, you know.
Gotcha.
I also think that maybe they can't get pregnant. I'm not 100% sure because that can vary from book to book.
Yeah. It was kind of like strange. It wasn't really strange because I've read enough like science fiction and fantasy where they just throw you in and start using terms and you've just got to, based on context clues, pick up what those terms mean.
Facts, my man. Yesterday I read The Word for World is Forest by Ursula K. Le Guin.
I saw you reading that. I was curious about it.
Yeah, it's, well, I let one of the people from work borrow it, but you can borrow it after them if you want. But she does that in her books. Like, she just drops things. So, like, there was the term, like, E-years, and I was like email? Oh, wait, no, that means Earth years. So, like, you get nothing, and then you just have to, like, work it out yourself.
You gotta figure it out, yeah.
Which I actually kind of like a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
I like it.
It's a little confusing.
In this, it's kind of funny because when you said, I'm going to introduce you to the Omegaverse, and then after reading this, I was under the ridiculous impression that this one story was the Omegaverse.
No, baby.
Like, yeah. Now I don't even know if this was the first Omegaverse.
No, no, not at all. It's a wide genre, and like one of the cooler things. So let me finish this real quick.
Oh yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
And so you've got betas, which I don't know. It maybe depends on the different universes. Some can get pregnant, some can't. They might all just be
normal, quote unquote normal
or unable to carry at all. I'm not. Gotcha. It depends on what you're reading.
Gotcha.
And also Omegas can carry children regardless of gender.
Yeah.
Each universe is a little different. You can have alpha women, which are chicks with dicks, basically.
Yeah.
You have alpha, beta, omega, men and women. Like, that is in this universe. Most other parts are as expected. There's also, depending on what you're reading, there's a lot more involved with, like, the physical presentations and, like, how birth works. And, like, some of it gets way more involved, and then some of it is just, you kind of gloss over some of the aspects of it.
Yeah.
But no, as far as what you were saying, this Omegaverse is a wide variety. You've got a lot of it revolves around, because I asked my brother's husband, because he also likes a lot of these same things. I asked him about,
now, how did, again, side tangent, did he introduce you to this, or did you stumble upon this?
No,
what was your path to this? Because that I find very curious. Like, this, for me, this is kind of like going from 0 to 60.
Oh yeah.
Like, as far as, like, just a story type genre that I was completely unaware of. Like, this is this is very new to me, and I was wondering what your gateway drug to this was. Yeah.
Fan fiction. Because this is a very popular subgenre of slash fanfic.
Okay.
And most of what I know about the Omegaverse comes from AO3 and FFN.
Okay.
And it's a thing that I've read about for a long time, because I've been on FFN and AO3 and all that shit for ages now. I got a couple decades under my belt.
Impressive.
The slash fic Omegaverse wasn't there originally.
Yeah.
It's something that sort of I am under the impression that it sort of started on fanfic sites.
Yes.
And it sort of like my brother's husband pointed out, it sort of plays off of the mistaken tropes of the
sorry, but every time you say my brother's husband, I keep thinking of Until I Met My Brother's Husband. That is, go back to our Until I Met My Husband episode of the podcast to see why that is. I'm not even going to say funny, just a segue. Anyway, continue.
Well, and like he pointed out, it draws on the mistaken notion that we have of the alpha, beta, like the alpha stuff for like the stuff that like incels like to use, like that. It plays off of those tropes.
Yeah. It also plays off of what I used to call the mage knights that I created when I was a kid. So here's a fun little quick tangent that we may just delete because no one will care but me. When I was a kid, I was into, fantasy, dragons and goblins and knights and stuff. And my bad group had knights. But then they also had knights that could use magic. And there were alpha knights and gamma knights and delta knights and omega knights. And each of those was a different type of magic, and it determined what kind of knight it was. And if you fought an alpha, gamma, delta, omega knight, they were the best because they had all 4 types of magic, and they also had knight martial skills and armor, and they were super hard to fight. And so, as I was running around the woods with sticks, I mean Excalibur.
Of course Excalibur.
Or, the Master Sword from He-Man, or, the Eye of Thundara from Thundercat, whatever sword it was at the time, I was often fighting different versions of knights. So whenever I would read about alphas and omegas, I was like, oh, watch out for those omega knights. They got super magic. And it's such a stupid thing that I didn't realize until just now that when those words pop up, I am whisked back to childhood and running through the woods with a stick fighting knights.
I am really impressed at how detailed your world building is for your imaginary knight war.
Yeah, well, not to brag, but I was dungeon mastering D&D games by the time I was 11, so... I mean, I was doing it wrong and just making up a lot of things, but yeah.
You know what? That's
Speaking of nerd cred.
Well, it makes you think of Calvin Ball, but
Yeah, we make up our own rules. We make up the rules as we go.
And they change. It's much like playing a game with my Tibby girl.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know how we would do it, but since we are a comic podcast, I would like to do a comic strip sometime. And Calvin and Hobbes would be a very likely suspect for that.
We could do a comic-based Dungeons and Dragons run. But
I have it. I actually got a one-shot from Dungeons and Dragons comic just recently that I was reading through. So, so that is definitely a thing that we could do. But anyways, distractions. Yeah.
No, it's a good question. How did I stumbled upon Omegaverse as a small child reading. Might have been Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But it could have been anything. It's a really common because I like Mal Dalzushi so much, and I've been finishing all the fanfics on Mal Dalzushi. It's a really common boy love trope. Like a lot of MLM type fanfics do Omegaverse, and I think it's mainly because you can still have like happy family shit without like adoption and all that other stuff.
Well, you also it also at least and as a white male, I think I'm in a perfect position to speak for women here. It kind of fulfills like this fantasy of, what if guys knew about all the bullshit we have to go through? Like constantly being under threat of sexual assault and pregnancy, and what if the
we
typical,
see how they handle it here,
right? What if the typical male, again, whenever I use terms like normal, typical, I'm merely talking about the
most common.
Yeah. What if that person actually under fucking stood what it was like to be a woman walking through the world today?
We wouldn't have all this bear versus man discourse if that were the case.
My God, I fucking love the man versus bear. I've had
every shithead I know.
I've had so many fun conversations about...
Every shithead I know on Facebook is like, well, what if the bear's a man? Or, whatever.
What if the bear's a man?
What if the bear's male? Yeah. What if the bear's male?
Yeah. Excellent question. You have not missed the point.
No, not at all. This
yeah.
hypothetical question, you've nailed it.
You've nailed it. Yeah, it's
every shithead I know.
It's very much the what about meism of and you know what, as a male, I get it. Like, okay, if I am reading, if I'm scanning through Facebook and you get 10 bad men that post in a row, you do feel a little you know, it wears the soul a little bit, like, but you know, sometimes you just got to suck it up and bear it, because some of your sex have been out there doing bad shit, and I believe people have the right to vent about that. I think that is a perfectly valid thing.
You know what? It probably is tiring for men who haven't done bad shit, but you know what you do in that instance? You get your other men who maybe are a little sketchy, and you hold them to task for it.
Or, in my case, you absolutely agree with them, but in a way that makes you laugh and they don't catch. So I was talking to a coworker of ours who I will not name.
You can tell me the name of it.
Yeah, if you're interested. And they were doing of course, they brought up the fucking bear man thing. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like, of course you'd rather be with a man. Like, let me give you this scenario. What if the bear's, like, dressed like a man? What if the bear's wearing, like, pants? Yeah, women don't even think about that. And the guy was just, like, nodding, like, nodding, like, yeah, that's very valid. He was so happy I was agreeing with him. He was not examining my argument at all for the fact that it made no fucking sense. So I just keep making this. I basically made a Bearstein bear, where I gave him pants and a hat and a shirt.
Plaid.
Yeah. And I was like, what if he's what if he's a lumberjack? What if this bear has an axe? What if he's one of the bears that ate Goldilocks after she fucking
the cocaine bear
slept in his bed? Yeah, like, I'm just kidding. And he's just agreeing with me.
I want a name when we're done here.
And then I'll be honest. Bet you already know. But I will confirm any suspicions you have when we're done.
Okay.
But yeah, it was 10 minutes, and at no point. I started trying to steer this person towards the fact that I was not on his side. He never got there, and finally, I was just like, man, it was this little thing I was doing because me and Cecilia work 12-hour shifts at night sometimes.
You gotta get your kicks where you can.
And you get your kicks where you can. And I was like, let's try and make this person see how ridiculous their arguments are by adding more ridiculous arguments on top of it under the guise of agreeing. And see if at any point they recognize how silly the original argument that this is all based on is. And we never got there, so. But it was super fun for me.
You gave them too much credit.
But it was fun for me. Well, here's the thing. I was going to win either way. Like, I was going to come out feeling great regardless. I don't think I struck a blow for women, but, man, I had a good time.
Hey, again, you get kicks where you can.
Damn straight.
All right. So, before we actually jump into the story, I do want to give a trigger warning for sexual assault.
Absolutely.
When I Googled a thing for this.
Oh, and parenting. Trigger warning for parenting.
He's a good daddy, mommy.
No, I just mean having to parent. Like, I got nervous when the thoughts of responsibility of taking care of other people came into the picture.
All right, so there's a trigger warning for sexual assault. There are over 433 million cases of sexual assault or rape annually among the U.S. populations ages 12 and older, according to the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, or RAIN. Every 60 seconds, another American is sexually assaulted, RAIN data shows. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-4673 or chat online for confidential 24/7 support. Remember, sexual violence is never your fault, and you deserve help.
Damn straight.
So, I'm going to go ahead and tell you I started you off sweet. These two are an adorable couple. Mm-hmm. There's a lot. One of the things with BL is you can find a lot of really harmful tropes.
Yeah.
But this couple and this particular...
And I can tell you, when we read this, they will not be my favorites.
No, but this one is my favorite. This is one of my comfort ones. Like
this one, as far as like the actual relationships go, within the universe in which it is set, like I have very little disagreements with the things that happen. Quick question. Is the pheromone thing in all the Omegaverse, or is that unique to this one?
No, that one is more, it's...
Because I thought that was the thing that made this one, like, really fascinating.
It depends, it depends slightly on what you're reading as to what the actual effects of the pheromones are. But for a lot of Omegaverse, it is a thing that exists, and it does... urge on sexual feelings.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school and shortly after, the pheromone colognes were really popular. Right? And the idea that you could buy a magic cologne and 2 spritzes and you would be an Omega, but only to women that you found attractive. Somehow it would just zone in on those women specifically and ignore everyone else. I believe it was sold in the back of like I don't know, Playboys or something. But you would always see advertisements for it and just be, oh my god. And I also had a friend in high school who stopped bathing because he thought his BO was a natural pheromone, and it was not. Smelled like week old chili and like
Ew.
Yeah. And we were punks, so like none of us were clean, but oh my god, it like took it to a whole nother level.
Reno, no.
And we would ride around in cars together that did not have air conditioning. Nightmare fuel. That kid did not get laid, to the best of my knowledge. So, if you're out there listening,
bathe, please, for the love of God.
Yeah, bathe. It bathe. It's a surprising attractor.
You know what?
Yeah.
It will definitely get you laid more often than not bathing will.
Yes. Except in very, very niche groups, and you'll know them because they will. You'll know them before they get to you because you'll smell them.
Ew.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are gonna
chapter 1. Finally, we're gonna start this bad boy.
So our comic starts with a very adorable little girl named Shizuki and her mama named Naoto, and they wake up. Shizuki wakes Naoto up saying, "Hey, Mr. Sleepyhead."
I will say the first shot we get of Naoto is exactly my facial expression when I get woke up. Like, very good. The artist captured perfectly the before you know who has woken you up and decide whether you hate or love that person, that oh my god, that begrudging awakening face. There it is. There it is.
No, they did a good job.
Like the very second panel, if anyone's following along at home.
Hajiki did a good job.
Yes.
All right. So they get ready for school, and Naoto drops Shizuki off, and there's talk of there's some of these busybodies that hanging around this building for no reason, which is creepy, by the way, ladies, who start gossiping about the fact that Naoto is a man who has had a baby, and his baby calls him mommy.
Yeah,
and
well, it's also very, I mean, you gotta think it's very similar to people that identify as a sex that is different to how they outwardly appear. Like, very simply, like, oh, this person is is using she, her pronouns. That looks like a man. Like, what are they doing? Like,
or how they talk about single mothers. Like, how they talk about
where's the father?
Yeah.
Where's the father?
When we get back home, Naoto is calling his mom on the phone while he cleans, and they're talking about the fact that he didn't get a job because being an Omega is an immediate disqualification.
Because he refused to lie about who he was. Let's just call it what it is.
You're right. You're absolutely correct.
And at this point, I was just like, because again, at this point, I had no idea what was going on. I was like, well, he's an Omega. Like, doesn't God say I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end? That's the kind of person you want on your team. Somebody that either is a god or thinks they're a god, especially if they're going to be a businessman, because that is the mindset that gets you to the top of shitty corporations. And yet he didn't get the job. Yeah, God complex.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Look at the CEOs of the most popular companies in the world and tell me they don't have God complexes. Look at your Musk and your Gates and your your Jobs and your. I can go on.
Yeah. So he has a hard time getting a job because he's an Omega, and they can't cover for him if he goes into heat at work and gets attacked. So,
although, do they say that straight out? Because I know they say. At first, it's just, we cannot accommodate you.
Yeah, no.
And I thought it was similar to that, like, well, we can't let women go into the women go into the men's bathrooms. I'm sorry, we can't hire you. Like, I thought it was that kind of thing going on at this juncture.
That's a fair thing. I've read this before, and so.
Oh yeah. Later we find that there's more to it than that. But at first, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was a whole bathroom thing, like oh, we're doing the bathroom bill. Okay.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Nyanto's mom drags him to a mating party where he can she says he can try to find like a alpha female or something so that he can, because here's the thing, if he gets bit and he gets mated, he'll stop releasing pheromones for everyone to smell.
Yeah, so there's a very weird vampire aspect to this. So, yeah, you get bit in the neck and then you've formed a life bond with someone, which can be broken. So, life bond. Much like marriage. Like, is it though? But you can form a life bond with someone. Yes, and then these Omega pheromones that you give off I don't know if they just stop completely or they become much less powerful to other people. I
think it's the second one because there's still a scent, but only the person that you're bonded with can smell it. Okay. So like the smell that you let out isn't going to affect everyone because you have a mate.
Yeah.
And that way it keeps you safe.
It's how women wear wedding rings even if they're not married when they go to the club and they don't want to meet.
You know
nobody.
what? You're not wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's at this party, very uncomfortable, talking about how he doesn't want to mate, and
you think you're uncomfortable. Wait till Hazuki shows up.
And yes, there Hazuki pulls Naoto aside and claims to be his soulmate, and this is where it's established that Naoto was raped, and Shizuki is his daughter from that.
Yeah,
because he has a flashback.
Yeah, just a brief one, but horrible enough.
Yeah, and
you can imagine his concern, and this immediately made me think of since the number of not just females, but especially females who have been sexually assaulted, like what it is like to, after that, to be hit on by, evenly a completely innocent guy in a completely why is the word opaque coming into my head? In a completely quote unquote safe environment, like in a coffee house surrounded by people or whatever. Like even in that situation, how you can have complete flashbacks to this horrible thing that happened to you and therefore not want to engage with other things. And I think a lot of the guys, especially the guys who don't get the bear argument, they don't get that. They're like, well, yeah, but I'm not that guy. It's like, yeah, but what you don't understand is A, this person can't read your mind, so they don't know if you're that guy or not. And B, this is not a voluntary response. Mm-hmm. This is a PTSD response. This isn't something you can control. In the same way that if you're mugged in an alley by three bodybuilders or three black men or three white men, your adrenaline might start flowing if you get in a slightly similar situation, even with three guys who have no ill will towards you. It's a trigger. It's a trigger, and the lack of empathy, and understanding of that. I don't know. I want to give my sex the benefit of the doubt, but sometimes it seems very purposeful to feel victimized, like I'm actually the one suffering here. Like
I want your attention, and it's so unfair to me.
I'm an innocent guy, and I'm carrying the weight of all the guy crimes, and it's like empathy, man. Like I shouldn't have to say this, but it's not about you, really, at all.
Yeah. I mean, in Naoto's defense in this particular instance, Hazuki didn't exactly
he doesn't
this
come
man
off
just
well
barges
in this picture.
Yeah, he just barges in and is like, "You're my soulmate,"
and then when I find out later, like the power that Omegas have over alphas, I'm just like, well, of course he thinks that you're just a dude that got a whiff of pheromones and went nutto. Yeah, of course.
But we learn that Naoto hates alphas. He has a lot of trauma because he was unfortunately assaulted, and he
chooses to keep Shizuka, which after rape, that's a hell of a decision to make. Like, I, of course, am not faulting women who choose
either way,
any path, adoption, abortion, or keep. Like, that is definitely not on my plate of decisions to make or even have a say in. But it's a bold choice. I will say that, and it worked out because Noto says right at the beginning that him and Shizuka have a very happy family. Like their little two-person family is very happy.
Their little two-person family is happy, and they love each other. Like Shizuki is a very good little girl, and Naoto is a very good mommy. Like that is what it is.
Yes.
And then we get some good news finally, because Naoto needs a break, and he finally gets one
because he is poor and he needs money.
He needs a job.
Yeah.
He gets hired as a janitor at a high school. And we meet. I love the old man.
I assume this is the Jesus figure because this dude is amazing. Like this is like all fucking. Oh, he is just a cute little old man with empathy and like caring.
Kimura.
Kimura. Yeah, Kimura is my favorite character. Nice janitor man is my favorite man.
That is a fair favorite character to have because he is a grade A dude.
Although let's be honest, it's a short list. Almost every other guy in this comes off pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like Hazuki and Kimura's are two redeeming qualities.
When you get a larger cast, you do eventually get more characters who have. But yeah, for the first start of the story, Hazuki and Kimura are. And Kimura is, I adore Kimura. He is a good character. His wife is an Omega.
Yeah.
And he thinks that Naoto is brave for putting it on his applications that he's an Omega.
A little backstory. Naoto was not going to get hired for this job, and Kimura actually went to but this job is a janitor at a school. And Kimura literally went to the higher-ups as a janitor, mind you, and said, "Hey, that's who I want as my partner, as my, my little underling janitor."
Yeah.
And got him the job because he saw he was an Omega, and he's married to Omega, so he tried to, he wanted to help one out. Which
don't you? He says people's perceptions always change once they got close to her. Don't you think it's weird for a school, an educational establishment, to discriminate?
Yeah. Yeah, you do. I do. Yes.
So he's like, just do your best, and hopefully we can work together before I retire. And he's just a good dude. I like Kimura.
I mean, you're supposed to. He's adorable. He's also like a foot and a half tall. Like you could fit him in your pocket. He's so he's this cute little old man.
Yeah, he's adorable.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, fortunately,
Yeah.
To his shock, to Naoto's shock, Hazuki goes to school here.
Yeah, and Hazuki's got this friend with him whose name I did not catch. Did you? Because he shows up a lot.
It starts with a K.
Yeah.
I don't remember it though. Not at the moment. We'll find it again.
Fair enough, but yeah, I kind of like him too because
he's all right.
He's just a real supportive of his friend Hazuki, and he's like, yeah, like my man, he's cool, and like no matter what Hazuki wants or what he's going through, like, his friend's there for him.
Yeah.
Like, he's quiet and underspoken, but, like, he was another character who, like, I didn't find a lot of misgivings with. I was like, all right, this guy.
No, he's actually a pretty good dude.
Yeah,
He
he's a
hangs
good
around.
dude.
Yeah,
he's a good dude. I like him.
As far as a friend goes, like, Hazuki's got a good friend.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Hazuki does not have any chill. So he grabs Naoto. He's like, I love you. And Naoto's like, sorry, no can do. Nope.
And this is wrong on... I mean, this feels wrong on a lot of levels because, like, I'm going to go... If there are any janitors or teachers at a high school, don't date the students. That's one of the few things in this I would say different. Forgivable in this fiction. In real life, I don't recommend it. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna edge you away from that if I can.
It's a good thing to not date teenagers when you're an adult.
Yeah. Although Noto is what, like
21.
21. This is 17 to 21, right? I mean, it's still a little weird, but less. You know, he's not 30 or 42 or whatever. Yeah.
His daughter isn't half the age of.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Real quick aside, there was a Saturday Night Live sketch. Did you ever see? There's a Saturday Night Live sketch where they brought 3 guys on, and they're like, it was called Meet Your Second Wife. And so the guys were married at the time, and so they're like, you're going to meet your second wife. And they're like, okay, first of all, did not know that's what this game show was. And second of all, my wife's in the audience. Hi, honey. And it's like, yes, well, meet your second wife. And these girls were coming out who were like 13 and like 15, you know. Because
Oh, God.
And I was like, what a good skit, Saturday Night Live. Like, way to fuck it. Yeah, it was great.
So I wrote down here, Hazuki, this is not how you ask people out, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, this is amazing. And yeah, also advice to anyone trying to get in the dating game. Who's listening to our podcast? Yeah, not like this.
No.
Don't just grab people by the arm and say, I think you're my soulmate.
That is not how you do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is 17 and Naoto is 21. So there is an age gap, but I think, I'm not sure, maybe you know this, and maybe you don't, I hope you don't, but the age of consent in Japan is different.
Do I look like a libertarian to you? And I have no idea what the age is.
Okay.
No, I do not know.
I think it's 16, but I can't swear to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, if you're 21, maybe don't date a 15 or 16-year-old, you know, 17-year-old.
No.
But Naoto obviously reacts poorly to this because you don't grab people and tell them that you're in love with them after seeing them one time, for the love of God.
No. The Kimura separates them and sends the Hazuki and his friend back to class. And Noto has to goes home early. Kind of gets a half day, doesn't get a lot of work done, so he kind of goes home feeling a little bad for himself. Not a great first day at work.
Naoto is a little impressed because towards the end, before the janitor separates them, Naoto releases some pheromones on accident.
Yeah.
And
we will find out that's less accidental than it's unintentional, but it's because he's already starting to like Hazuki. Yeah.
But when he let out, he says that Naoto reflects that when he was that close to me when I let out my pheromones, but he didn't attack. So like there is a moment where Naoto's like, oh, the alpha didn't hurt me, which is something that he was not expecting, and it gets Hazuki just a little bit of like bonus points almost.
Oh well, more than that, yeah, like definitely, because up until that point, it throws everything into question, because up to this point you're led to believe that this is an uncontrollable thing.
Yeah.
Like, but here is an alpha who can control it, which raises the question: can all the alphas control it?
And there's just an
they
excuse.
just refuse to,
yeah.
Or is this one or is Hazuki the special boy who's just born different? Like, you don't know really. It's a question that may get addressed in later series, but at this point you don't really know. But it's something I would have liked to have had addressed, because man, I'm a fella that loves to assign blame. And it'd be nice to know. It's like, oh, you're all just rapists, okay? Or like this is basically the zombie bite from 28 Days Later. You don't have any choice. You go crazy and start attacking people.
It is an important distinction.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do think if quietly, and again, no spoilers, I don't know what happens later on, but if quietly, it does lean towards the fact that it is resistible by the way Noto interacts with other alphas later on. The way they talk and the way they present themselves. Like, they're calm and normal at first, and then they can work themselves up into a frenzy in a way that, like, seems that they could have cut that off before that if they had been not garbage. And even in the scene where he is raped, they say something like, "Oh, well, you're Omega, so this doesn't matter. Like, no one's gonna care." So like they got a license to do what they want because he's an Omega anyway. So it doesn't matter. They can get away with it. Like, thank God women in today's world don't have to deal with that. But in this fictional universe, that is a thing, and it sucks.
Yeah. On a happier note, after Naoto gets home, Suzuki has drawn him a photo of them together, and she gives him a little head pat and tells him good work.
Good work.
She is the cutest little baby.
First day back at work. Good job, my man. Or my mommy, actually.
Mommy did good.
Yeah, mommy did good. Noto is happy to...
It's cute. There's cute cuddles and shit, and I love it. So we go to the next day at work, and Naoto is hiding inside the gym because Hazuki keeps showing up wherever Naoto is and being like, "I love you. Hey, want to go out? Hey."
Have I told you lately that I love you? Like, yeah, 10 minutes ago, man.
Yep. So Hazuki's friend shows up, Kaiosuke.
Yes. Kaiosuke. I'm gonna write that down.
Good. Yeah. So Kaiosuke tells Naoto a little bit of a backstory. Hazuki hasn't told anyone that he's an alpha. He lives his life as a beta. And Kaiosuke points out, or he does what you said. He says, Hazuki's a good person. Like, he said, what happened yesterday...
What a wingman. What a wingman.
Even I was struggling, and I'm a beta. And it should have been tougher for him because he's an alpha who thinks he's found a soulmate, but he held himself back. Like, he bit his own hand. I love... Hazuki does so much to keep Naoto safe. And Kaiosuke's like, it's not my business, but, you know.
Yeah. But I'm gonna go to bat for my boy.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
He wants Naoto to give Hazuki his chance.
Yeah, just give him a chance.
If it don't work, it don't work. But so we go to Volume 2, and at the end of Volume 1, there was a stranger standing outside of the shed that Naoto is hiding in.
Yeah. And
at the start of Volume 2, we get a little bit more of the assault.
Yeah.
And then we get the baby Shizuki.
Yes. Which he's thinking of during the assault.
Well, no, this is after the assault. The assault happens, and then the guys are talking about how he's an Omega and there's nothing that he can do about it. And Naoto's just reflecting on the fact, because he's about to... This dude wants to assault him. There's a new dude who wants to assault him.
Okay, I was getting the two assaults confused. I thought it was the same assault.
No, this isn't. Got it. This is a new guy. This is a different alpha who says that they want to breed him, which is creepy.
Yeah.
And that is triggering his memory of being raped.
Yeah.
And this alpha says you're the one at fault for being an Omega, and Naoto is sad because no matter how hard he tries, it seems like he can't stop struggling and try. Like, he's trying to provide for Suzuki and he's trying to be a good parent, and it's just life's unfortunately very hard for him.
Well, yeah, and he takes a lot of this onto himself.
He does.
Like, he I'm not sure if it's after this assault, because spoilers ahead. It's not the last time he gets assaulted. After one of them, he says, I should just get it together. I should be used to this by now. And it's like, oh, mommy, that's not, no one should, after a sexual assault, be like, all right, slap yourself in the face, like, get back in there, you're good, you're fine, everything's great. Like, that's some trauma that needs lots and lots of therapy. That's not, I need to cry in the bathroom for 2 minutes and then get back to work. Like, that's crazy. And it is crazy that someone has to deal with that. Like,
the good news this time is, though, that Naoto does not get assaulted because Hazuki shows up and protects him. Yeah. He throws the other alpha out and he defends the concept of Omegas, basically, because the other alpha's like, look at you acting all high and mighty for a beta. And if you didn't want it, you shouldn't have been giving off that scent.
Yeah.
And Hazuki's like, they don't give off the scent consciously. How great are alphas anyway? If we're up to me, I'd say you're the sad one. Unable to see people as anything but their sex.
Yeah. Shouldn't have given off that scent. Shouldn't have worn that dress. Shouldn't have been in that town. Shouldn't have been drunk.
Why were you alone?
Yeah.
Yep.
You know how scuzzy we all are. Why were you out there by yourself, stupid?
Yeah. So
we also get Hazuki's backstory and why he's hiding his alphaness.
Well, we get Hazuki first apologizing because he's like, he knows that Naoto was hiding because he's been following him around.
Yeah.
But he
feels a little responsible for this situation.
He was just so happy to have found Naoto. And and then Naoto's basically kind of lashing out, and he's like, you probably think I deserved it for that I was raped. And the Hazuki is very much like, no, I do not. What the fuck?
Hashtag not all alphas, man.
And yeah, basically he's lashing out and having a little bit of a breakdown, and Hazuki hugs him.
Yeah,
and it's just like he talks about how like you're so much more hardworking than I thought, and I don't even think I would have been able to handle being an Omega. So I really respect you.
Well, yeah, it's on another level too, because Naoto is a quote-unquote proud Omega, he doesn't hide it, writes it in on the resume under, I don't know, gender. I don't know where you would write that on your form, but it, does not.
He owns himself.
Owns himself, yeah. And Hazuki is hiding that he is an alpha. He is quote-unquote hiding something much quote-unquote easier to live with. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I imagine you would look at Naoto and be like, wow, that's amazing. Like, you're just brave. Out there it's brave as hell. Like, I couldn't do it. I can't even admit to being an alpha. So.
Yeah, he says, I was the one running away. We had our second gender test in elementary school, and one of the girls in our class was discovered to be an Omega. After all of her friends suddenly started picking on her, and all he did was ask him to stop, but Omegas were treated so different. He was disgusted and uncomfortable being an alpha. Because of how they treated the Omegas.
Yeah, he disowned the alpha title because all the alphas were crap. And he protected this Omega person. And also the alphas kind of turned on him when he did that as well. So I'm not 100% sure if it was a voluntary ousting or kicked out. But yeah, he denounced his alpha title. But we will find that it's not so easy to I'm just not going to be gay anymore. Like, I'm just not going to be an alpha anymore. Like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I, for one, don't think we should be teaching this stuff in elementary school. And God, I hope we get a conservative in office so that we can just get these Omega tests out of school. They don't belong. That should be handled by the parents at home in a good Christian faith community. But that's just my opinion.
They don't touch on faith here, so
they really don't. Yeah. There's no religious aspect to it. Which I guess is why you actually have sex ed in classes here.
Yeah. So Hazuki is saying that, like, he's been hiding being an alpha, but when he saw Naoto, he became aware of all of his traits. Because up until this point, he's been suppressing them, but with Naoto, he can't. And he wants to bond with Naoto, but not through force.
Yeah.
He wants
to do it like how normal people
have a real relationship. He wants Naoto to fall in love with him, and he's not just trying to bite him and run. He wants a relationship and to be there and to like have feelings, and it throws Naoto for a loop because he was not expecting Hazuki to actually be a decent person.
Yeah. Yeah, no. He had these stereotypes about all alphas. And so, yeah, unfortunately, that causes Noto to start giving off those pheromones again. And Hazuki makes a call to Kiyosuke and tells him to get the janitor down here quick because I'm about to lose control. Naoto, who's still being held by Hazuki, is like, okay, this is going to end just like last time.
He's giving off the pheromones, and he thinks that no one can resist that. Like, none of the alphas can. So even though Hazuki's been decent up to this point, he still is under the impression that Hazuki's going to be an alpha and rape him now. But Hazuki manages to not do that, and also call his friend to come and get Naoto.
Yes, Kaisuke again, friend in the clutch.
A good friend.
He gets Kimura, and Kimura comes in and diffuses the situation.
Naoto went into heat, and he's in the hospital bed, and Suzuki is worried about her mommy. I keep wanting to call him daddy, but her mommy.
Yeah, I might do that too. No offense given, or meant. That's what I mean to say. Noto's mom shows up, and they do this Asian thing where everybody is apologizing profusely. where the mother is like, "Oh, I'm sorry to have put you through this, Kimura," and he's like, "No, sorry to have not handled it better." And then like they're just back and forth, kind of playing the shame game. Who's more sorry about the situation? And both of them very sweet. Like, I also I haven't mentioned it yet, but Naoto's mom's pretty cool too in this.
Naoto has blood on him, and at first his mom thinks that it's his blood.
And then it's at the neck too, so I think she thinks he was assaulted again.
Yeah. In
the same way that he was assaulted last time.
But she is quickly disabused of that notion because Kimura mentions that Hazuki...
Yeah. Once again, bid himself to resist taking advantage of Naoto.
There's this really cool little flashback of how hard it was to get Naoto away from Hazuki, though, because he's gone all feral and is all, trying to protect Naoto.
Yeah. Kimura and Kiyosuke really have to sweet-talk him into letting him go.
It's okay. No one's going to hurt him. Calm down.
Yeah,
it's all right.
It's a very protective thing. Yeah.
And we get a moment of kind of imagining the kind of stuff that he would like to do to Naoto sexually.
Yeah.
Which is fine. And then he didn't do it. I don't think you can be blamed for a fantasy.
No, I absolutely don't. Like, yeah, I think you can fantasize whatever you want. Like, just don't act on it. I mean, do if you have a consenting partner.
Willing. He does act on it eventually, but Naoto is like, please, won't you do this?
Yeah. That's a different situation. Yeah.
But then we get Shizuki asking Naoto if this is what heat is and if this can be fixed with a life mate.
Yeah.
And Shizuki's
a fixer.
Shizuki is a fixer.
Yeah.
We get a little flashback of Shizuki's little friends saying that they can't play with her anymore because her mommy is an Omega.
Yeah.
And
they were told by their parents.
Yep.
So good on you, parents.
Yep.
Like good to get that prejudice into your kids as early as possible.
This is what you meant when you said trigger warning about parenting. Because...
Yeah, right? I did not know how apt it was. Yeah. To any parents listening, don't spread your prejudices to your kids it's just not a good look.
It's really not. But Shizuki came home crying and was she said, when I heard that, what she said, I didn't feel anger or despair. Instead, I felt regret. Me being an Omega and her being an Omega's child mean I let her go through such painful experiences. But Shizuki was crying for a different reason. And she's like, if you weren't an Omega, I wouldn't have been born. Mommy didn't do anything wrong. Why is everyone so mean?
Yeah.
Poor Shizuki.
And poor Naoto being like, oh, if I was quote unquote if I was a beta, then or an alpha, my child wouldn't have to go through all this stuff. Like,
it's because he's Omega and male.
Yeah, specifically, Shizuku is going through all these hardships. Shizuka's going through all these hardships because of me. It's all my fault, and completely glossing over all the ways in which Naoto is stepping up as mommy and like providing and taking care and like creating a loving household and modeling the behavior that Shizuka is modeling back
at him.
Yeah, and she doesn't recognize it because, of course, God forbid you let go of your guilt and self-pity to see when you're doing a good job and maybe not be so hard on yourself.
He's internalized a lot of the prejudices about Omegas.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of trauma there and zero treatment, so, yeah, I get it. This is where Naoto gets Hazuki's jacket, which smells like him. And then decides to have a little fun time.
He's also in heat, so, he is feeling some kind of sexual way.
Yeah.
And he remembers Hazuki holding him, and he was protected, and
he felt safe. And
he reflects that Hazuki didn't bite him, and he's not in any pain.
Yeah.
And it's a really fun, because at the same time almost, Hazuki is fantasizing about having sex with Naoto.
Yes.
And Naoto is fantasizing about having sex with Hazuki.
Yes.
And neither one of them is sure how they're going to face the other after, because they both kind of reach a tipping point as far as...
And they also both feel they handled the situation wrongly, which I don't think is fair to either one of them. I think they both handled it fine. But yeah, they're both ashamed of that behavior with the other person. And, yeah.
And Naoto gets out of heat and...
yeah, it takes longer than normal. It's like a 7-day thing instead of a 2 or 3.
And he's been curling up with Hazuki's jacket the whole time.
And he thinks Hazuki might be the reason for that. There might be a reason for this. For why my heat was so long. And
Hazuki has a bandage over his arm where he bit himself. Because he bit himself pretty deep.
Yeah.
And then there's an ominous girl who is like, I finally found my soulmate.
And that takes us into chapter 4 where we meet Yui. Yeah. Yui is a person who... I feel bad for Yui because it almost seems like Yui did the exact same thing Hazuki did, but it works for Hazuki and it doesn't work for Yui. Yui sees Hazuki's like, oh, that's my soulmate. In the same way that Hazuki sees Noto is like, oh, that's my soulmate. And for some reason, because the writer wrote it this way, in one sense, that's the perfectly right thing to do, and it works out happy for you. And in the other instance, it's like, that is the wrong thing to do, and you should not have done that. We also find out that Yui is the Omega girl that that Hazuki, pronouns pal, that Hazuki rescued back in elementary school.
Yes.
Well, so she definitely has a reason to be all about him.
And they do establish a little bit later that Naoto smells a sweet scent when Hazuki's around. And Hazuki smells Naoto's scent. Yeah. And they seem especially sensitive to it. Whereas Yui, despite being an Omega and despite being idol-worshipping Hazuki, doesn't smell anything from him. She doesn't... Despite the fact that and I don't even think she likes him so much as she likes the fact that someone took up for her when she was a small child.
Yeah.
So despite all of that, she's not supposed to be with him.
Well, yeah, right. They're not soulmates. But it is a funny dynamic because basically that's all Naoto has right now. Is that Hazuki protected him. Yeah. So there's a very weird... Yeah, there's a weird dichotomy here between these this not quite triangle that's forming.
So Shizuki asks if there's anyone Naoto would like to kiss, and they were going to the school to bring Kuruma a gift for him helping take care of.
Yeah.
Naoki.
Now, does he also does Naoto also have Hazuki's jacket at this juncture?
He does not. He needs to bring it back, but he has to
wash it first for
Thank
reasons
God.
we don't need to discuss. No. Although, let me say, hell of a power move if you give it back unwashed. With a wink.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah. Here's the thing. It would work in this situation. I would not recommend it in most situations. Kimura refuses to accept the gift because the gift implies that there was that I did you a favor, and like that wasn't the case at all. Like we're humans, we gotta look out for each other. And then they have a very cute moment. Naoto's like, all right, then how about as friends, I brought this as a friend gift and let's share it friendly like. And Kimura's like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, I don't have anything against chocolate. Yeah, absolutely.
Open them sweets up.
Just don't think of it as I owed you.
Yeah,
we can share this. We can share these as friends.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's just it's not an IOU.
Which is really again Kimura.
Yeah,
great
MVP. I'm telling you, he's the Alfred of Batman. He's the MVP of this story. Always, let me just say. Always an old man coming in the clutch in these stories, being the real MVP.
Naoto's reflecting that Kuruma-san really loves his wife, which is a wonderful thing. I don't think it's necessary to have a life mate, but for a moment there, I was a bit jealous.
Yeah.
And then he runs into Hazuki, who gives him a big hug.
Yeah.
And Shizuki's like...
Shizuki meets... Shizuki meets...
Hazuki.
Shizuki meets Suzuki. It all rhymes. For the first time. And there's a little bit of friction because...
How dare you touch my mommy?
Shizuki's very protective of mommy. And also, Hazuki does not know how to do light friendship hugs. So the hug is like this back-breaking embrace, like arm around the neck and almost a chokehold.
Yeah, no, he's not just hugging him lightly. He is grabbed.
It is a full-on embrace. And
it is.
Of course, Shizuki's a little worried, protective of mommy. But Hazuki seems to make a good impression.
He does, because he gets down on Shizuki's level and is like, "It's nice to meet you."
Yeah, and even gets a wave. That's how you know things are good.
And yeah, he does. He gets a little wave, and he gets he turns Naoto on again.
Yeah.
Like he just got out of heat, and
it's like, God, back in this already?
But then Yui comes around the corner.
Yeah. And Yui's like, hey, get back to class.
And grabs him by the sleeve.
Yeah, very familiar type.
And Naoto realizes that he is jealous now. And he runs off. And then, Suzuki-san waves at him.
Yeah, Shizuki gives him a little cute wave. A glare and a wave. Meanwhile, Yui's trying to create some drama. Like, when we walk in late for class together, what do you think people say? They're going to say stuff, right? You think people are going to talk? I bet they're going to talk. Oh, man, I hope they talk. Etc., etc., etc.
And then she's like, well, are you mad at me for outing you as an alpha?
Yeah.
And
which she did not do knowingly.
She did not. She didn't know he was.
Yeah, she didn't know he was
beta.
hiding that. So Hazuki very maturely forgives her for that.
But he does say, "I'm not your soulmate."
Yeah,
the answer's
and
not
the
going to
most
change.
honest to God, like it was super refreshing to just cut it off at the hilt right here. There was not 3 more chapters of ambiguity. There was not confusion and accidental situations where it looks like he's looking up her skirt. Like we just jumped straight to no, this ain't happening.
No, I'm not your soulmate.
Yeah.
I understand that we were friends.
Yeah.
And maybe all of that, but I don't return your. I can't. He says I can't return your feelings.
Yeah, Hazuki's got it for somebody else.
Yeah. Well, it's not even a you could maybe change my mind. There is no.
Yeah.
Again, there's no miscommunication. There's no wibbly wobbly. He is honest with her.
Yeah.
I have feelings for someone else.
Yeah.
You're not going to change that.
Yeah. Which
And
is just
it's
very
so
refreshing.
refreshing.
And honestly, even though it takes another chapter or two, like Yui comes around much quicker than people usually do in these things as well. So like we didn't have we didn't have like 12 more chapters of Yui like, you know, being shitty and trying to. We get a little bit of that, but not a lot.
Well, and I do think the thing is that Yui sees.
Big fan of that.
Yui sees that Hazuki doesn't handle the rejection well.
Yeah.
And I do think, even though Yui was kind of idol worshipping him, I do think she genuinely cares about Hazuki.
Oh, yeah.
And so when she sees that she's fucked up...
Enough to let him go.
Yeah.
Again, that's a big
when she
sign.
sees that she's fucked up, she does own up to that and tries to set it right.
Yeah.
So we cut to Naoto in the car, buckling Shizuki back in her car seat. And Shizuki's like, is that the person you want to kiss?
Yeah.
Because this girl misses nothing.
No.
Shizuki is the smartest girl ever.
Yeah.
She immediately calls Naoto out for his crush and then says that she loves him the most, so Hazuki is just going to have to be second.
Yeah.
I love that whole interaction.
Yeah, there's a cute little I love you the most. No, I love you the most.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite panel.
It is adorable.
About halfway down issue 4 where Shizuki's in her car seat and Naoto's like leaning over with his arms crossed, like saying I love you the most. It's very cute.
This whole interaction between them is really adorable. What am I saying? Because he's like, Naoto finally admits to someone that he likes Hazuki, and it is Shizuki, but he does admit it.
Yeah.
And Shizuki's like, Mommy, he loves you the most. And Naoto's like, how do you know? And Shizuki's like, woman's intuition.
Yeah, right.
It is so
just
cute.
know.
It is adorable.
Yeah. Although, let's be honest, like anybody looking at that would know. Like,
he's not hiding it. You don't run around screaming, I love you.
I'm your soulmate, and hug them uncontrollably when you see them under normal circumstances.
Well, that's also like, you're not playing coy. No one is surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. But no sooner does this happen than Naoto has Hazuki's jacket coming back to school
after washing it,
and finds a note. I guess outside the janitor's room or something, and picks it up, and inside is a picture of their hug.
With the ending line, Omegas inconvenience others.
Yes, and that's the end of 4. And man, sorry about your damn luck.
It's rough. This is the high drama part of this. So Yui shows up around the corner. I guess she left the note and then decided to wait. She could have just handed it to him. It was unnecessary, the build-up, for her to turn around and own it.
Yui is a theater student, apparently. Doing it. Might as well have spray painted a green question mark on it. Like, we're doing there's got to be theater.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So she threatens him, tells him to stay away from Hazuki, which I'm not sure if she was trying to get him fired. Like, I don't know if that...
Yeah, I read that too. I was like, janitor and student, is that a scandal in this world? I don't know. Is it a scandal when it's an alpha and omega? I don't know. Like, so I assume that's the play here, though. The play is like, hey, janitors aren't allowed to fraternize with the students, so this would get you fired. Yeah.
That, or maybe it's just because he's a male omega and she thinks that... Because he seems to think that is enough to make... Naoto seems to think that is enough to make Hazuki have problems.
Yeah, which is weird because in an alpha beta Omegaverse, like, genders seem so fluid and so like unimportant. At least in so far as I've read, which is literally just this one thing. They seem very unimportant. Like, no one seems to be concerned about, that's 2 dudes, OMG, or that's 2 women, yuck. None of that has reared its head. As bad as this world seems to be, that part seems to be okay.
Naoto sort of passes by Hazuki's class and he starts letting out a scent.
Yeah.
And Hazuki had smelled it, and so he pulls Naoto away before anything bad can happen.
Yeah.
And locks him in a shed, like a closet. Not a shed. He locks him in a closet, and Naoto says that his meds aren't working as well lately.
I think it's a bathroom stall. Yeah, because he's sitting on a toilet.
Oh, is it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
here Hazuki asks if Naoto won't let him be bit. Like, if Naoto won't let Hazuki bite him.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not just about suppressing, but I don't want anyone else breathing your scent.
Yeah.
And he wants to protect him.
Yeah.
And he wants to...
and to put this in normal terms, this is like someone who you've met for 15 minutes altogether asking if you want to get married.
The answer here, though, is that Naoto does want to get married.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely. I'm sorry, the person who's asking that is very good looking, I should mention.
Oh, yeah. Pretty.
And during those 15 minutes, you guys have, like, hugged a lot.
And he says he loves you.
Yeah.
So, we flash back to Yui's...
ultimatum.
Yeah. He said, when it made me happy, but Hazuki started hating the gender discrimination. He transferred because of me. And then she's upset that Naoto is Yui's soulmate.
Yeah. And also, I think it's unspoken here, but I read that there's a little bit of guilt from Yui as well. Mm-hmm. That
I think
Hazuki had to leave his school because of me. Maybe I can return the favor by being his soulmate and making him happy. So I don't think it is all selfishness on Yui's part either. Although her behavior towards Noto is selfishness. But I think her underlying thing is there's a lot of like, I owe Hazuki a lot. Maybe this is a way in which I can repay him.
This is a fair reading. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
You're the one he's thinking about. I wasn't his soulmate. Why is it you? From society's standpoint, or from anyone's, I would make the better match. But do you have the confidence to make him happy? And Naoto...
is like, nope.
Yeah.
Confidence. My confidence comes and goes. I'll be honest with you, Yui.
Hazuki is a really kind kid. When he comes close, I can smell a sweet and kind scent from him. A scent that both calms and excites me. Even if she weren't his soulmate, she would still love and treasure him. He's got someone who's always thinking of him, who loves him, versus someone like me, who hates alphas and acts on his own self-interest. I could never make him happy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yui interrupts, and...
Wouldn't life be so much better, though, if you could just smell things on people? Like,
I actually wrote down...
Oh, this person lies a lot. Anti-Semitic. Oh, this person's caring and kind.
Yeah. I actually wrote down that it would be mortifying if, like, you gave out a scent that let people know your feelings. No, thank you. I keep those wrapped under bubble wrap and locked in a box somewhere. Yeah. We're not trying to advertise.
Yeah, the closest thing we get is, like, if someone owns, like, a lot of cats, sometimes you can smell that on them. Otherwise, no.
No, and here's the thing. I prefer that.
I prefer it somewhat, but it also sucks to get blindsided by someone who you think is nice who isn't.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong, but again, that is mortifying. If you could tell from the way I smelled how I felt, I would run around. I would always have an air freshener on me. Like, there's no damn way.
Just tie car air fresheners. Yes. I'd have them. I'd have
like, it'd be like a jacket,
a waist belt made of them.
A jacket. I would have a cape.
I'd have a corset I wore under my shirt made of pine scented air fresheners.
Something.
I'd be like, oh, yeah. Reno Dino must really like nature.
Yeah, he likes to hike.
He has a pine smell.
There's a woodsy scent. Yeah. But Naoto, coming back to the present,
he shoots Hazuki down because of all that stuff going on. And,
he's like, I told you before, I hate alphas. If that thing gets out, what are you gonna do? You may feel something, but I don't. Were you planning on ignoring that? I can't trust alphas. I know you rescued me out of pity, just like when you were little. Alphas are remarkable, completely different from us Omegas. I don't need a life mate. If you really love me, then you'll stay away from me. And I really enjoy the contrast because there's the bubbles that have what Naoto is saying, which is, I hate you, leave me alone, stay away from me. And then there's the things, like the black bars in between that are like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And he's not being honest.
Yeah. He is not.
This is I think it's a top show for angst. Like, it's got a good, like, he's saying mean things and pushing Hazuki away. And he's thinking, like, I'm so sorry. I was like, it's so good.
He's also
so
thinking,
good.
like, again, I'm not sure about pronouns. They are also thinking. Naoto, I'm unsure of pronouns.
He's a he.
Okay. Yeah, he's very much like, I'm doing this for your own good.
Yeah.
And also, but I think if Naoto would look honestly,
he's doing it because he's scared.
He's doing it because he's scared.
Yeah,
feeling stuff. Kiyosuke finds Kimura kind of hunched over.
Well, Hazuki calls him a liar first.
Yeah, that is true. Hazuki's like, I can smell the lie all over you. But Hazuki does leave Naoto alone, and Kiyosuke finds him out in the hall, kind of bent over, upset and sad. I'm like, oh, poor Hazuki. And Kiyosuke, of course, like good friends, comes over to comfort him and find out what's going on.
And Yui reflects that she has never smelled anything from...
Yeah, Yui is
Hazuki.
quickly coming to grips with the fact that maybe Hazuki is not her soulmate.
Yep. We go to Naoto, who had fallen asleep with Shizuki when he laid her down, which... Parenting naps, man.
Yeah,
Those things sneak up on you.
Their mom is comes in. It's like, yeah, you were in heat, so I know that takes a lot out of a person being in heat.
And then she interrupts him when he's in the bath and is like, "Why do you still have the jacket? You need to give this back."
Yeah.
And Naoto admits that he is in love with Hazuki.
With the jacket owner.
Yeah. He called me his soulmate.
Yeah.
And I said some really awful things to him.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And then the mom asked her again, mom coming in, pitch hitter, and just asked, "Are you okay with that and how things turned out? Like, did you?" I like it because it's non-intrusive. It's not, you made the wrong decision. You march right down there and fix this. It's just, are you happy with the decision you make? Are you sure it's the right decision? If so, I'm your mom. I got you back. If maybe you should think about it though.
And yeah, no, she is very supportive.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's probably from when he was assaulted, because she doesn't, you know.
Yeah. The
mom's good.
Yeah. And so Naoto is in the bathtub, kind of upset about the whole situation. Shizuki walks in and asks, and Naoto once again, like, no, I'm not crying. It's just water because I'm in the bath. It's bath water. Shizuka, it's just a real quick scene of Shizuka, like clenching her like little nightgown that she's in, and you're like, okay, she doesn't buy this.
No,
like, nobody's buying this.
Nazuki.
Yeah.
Naoto. You're a bad liar.
Yeah.
No one.
Or you're a good liar, but Shizuka sees right through you. One or the other.
Yeah.
Because Shizuka's not buying this shit.
So when he thinks Shizuki's asleep, Naoto says that he thinks he's going to try to go to another event, like the one he went to where
Singles
he met
dating night. Woo woo. Find yourself an alpha that isn't a high school student at the school you work at.
Well, he thinks he's blown a shot with Hazuki, so he is trying to. He figures he'll have to find someone else because Hazuki's going to end up with Yui because he's done fucked all that up.
Yeah.
And he doesn't think he can go on like this.
Yeah. Shizuka appears to be too sick to go to school or too sleepy to go to school. So,
Hazuki, Naoto leaves, and then the moment Naoto's gone, Shizuki's like...
She's up and getting dressed.
Yeah, we're going to mommy's school.
Yeah.
Right now, me and you. Come on, Grandma, we got stuff to do today.
Yeah. Yeah, thus ends chapter 5.
Yeah.
They're on this.
I love Shizuki. This girl, she's like, okay, mommy's lying. He's in love with the dude from the school. And now he thinks he's going to go to a matchmaking thing. And Shizuki is like, no, we're not doing all of this. Grandma, you're my ride.
Yes. Having a kid that's too smart, if it feels the same as having a dog that's too smart. Like my dog, R.I.P. Joy, was way too fucking smart. Like I would think that I had everything figured out in such a way that my dog could not, get to the Oreo cookies that I had on the table, or like not trick me into letting the dog out just so it could run in circles. And like, but no, too damn smart. Shizuki, too damn smart.
She really is. She's an incredibly talented little girl.
Yeah.
So Hazuki is having a horrible time at this mixer.
Yeah, chapter 6 opens with a very unsuccessful mixer.
Yeah, he's not having fun, but Naoto's having a horrible time at the mixer.
Yeah, Naoto's having a horrible time.
Hazuki is having a horrible time at school.
Yeah. Kiyosuke's talking to him, trying to cheer him up.
Again,
not
good friend.
doing a great job.
And Kimura asks if Hazuki will come with him for a minute.
Yeah. Kimura comes in and pulls him out of class, which that's a weird thing janitors can do in school, I guess. At this school.
And this
I
is
understand
where
the teacher or the principal calling you to the office, but the janitor just coming in and being like, "Hey, that guy.
Come here, kid.
Come here, kid."
And this is also where Yui sees how bad of a time Hazuki is having.
Yeah.
And Hazuki tells Kimura he's not looking. He doesn't feel like seeing Naoto right now.
Yeah.
Like he's.
And he doesn't think Naoto wants to see him either. And it's like, let's not do this.
Shizuki comes running at him and attaches
Super hug.
herself to
Yeah.
his. She learned something from Hazuki so far, and that is kill hugs.
How to hug.
We just
How to hug like you're trying to break the thing you're hugging. Yes. And Shizuka's grandmother, Naoto's mom, is got the jacket and hands it over and says, thank you very much for protecting.
And Shizuki really insisted on coming to see you.
Yeah.
It looks like she's been really worried. And Hazuki gets down on her level because he's a good stepdaddy.
Yep.
And is like, hey, they end up starting to talk. And Shizuki's like, do you love my mommy? And
asking the big, tough questions right out the gate.
We cut to Naoto at the mixer, and he's thinking about Shizuki and reflecting on he does that thing you said. He's like, I should be ready for this. I should know what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah.
But he is just not having a good time.
Yeah.
And that one alpha that was in the beginning of the chapter, getting all the attention, walks into the room.
Yeah.
And we cut back to Suzuki talking to Hazuki, and they're talking about Hazuki's like, yeah, I love him, but I think he kind of hates me, and for some reason he's been distancing himself for me, so he might not be able to become his life mate.
Yeah.
And Shizuki's like, then you need to protect him because mommy's a liar.
Yeah. And Shizuka's like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like
I am but a tiny child.
I am but a tiny thing.
And I want to protect him, but I can't protect him, so
Hazuki, step it up. And Yui sees this and finally comes to a decision about what to do.
Yeah, and about how some of this is her fault.
Yeah. We come back to Naoto with this dude with glasses who's talking.
Yeah.
But Naoto's still lost in
Naoto's
his own stuff.
and he's scared. He's shaking, and he doesn't want to be here. He didn't want to be here to start with. And then he starts worrying about his pheromones, which I think also makes him release pheromones. So, worrying about it makes it worse. And
thinking about Hazuki makes it worse. And so, unfortunately, this alpha who followed him into this side room is smelling all this coming off of him. And it's kind of like, hey, you're obviously an Omega looking for an Alpha, and I'm that Alpha. Hi.
Hey. No, he was reflecting, too, that, he's the most judgmental. Hazuki tells him how much he loves him. Hazuki's been very forward with his feelings and very honest, and he treated him with kindness. And this is where Naoto comes to the ultimate realization that if he's going to bond with anyone, he wants to bond with Hazuki.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be here. He's not interested in this alpha.
Yeah.
But this alpha has finally realized that Naoto is an Omega.
Yeah. And all these pheromones are coming off, so he's getting all crazy, hot and bothered. And he does the whole is like, why are you resisting me? I was so nice about this. And by nice he means I don't know, gave him 45 seconds to a minute to think about it.
Yeah, much like the movie Promising Young Woman, this dude is also nice until he hears the word no.
Yeah,
because he was being real like sleazy and kind of like, you know, are you an Omega? I bet you're really nice to sleep with or whatever.
Real difference between this guy and Hazuki, because they were both like,
I can take.
I'm gonna do this. Well, I'm gonna do this the nice way, and Hazuki's like, yeah, like I'm gonna give you weeks and weeks to figure this out.
I want you to fall in love with me. You take the time you need to do that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be right here waiting for you to fall in love with me.
I'll wait for you to make the right decision.
Whereas this dude is like,
I've given you 40 seconds to come to a decision, and I'm gonna take what I want. So your decision should be to accept that.
Yeah.
But Hazuki, who apparently has the power of teleportation, is suddenly behind this this nerdy alpha dude.
I love
stops
that.
him from assaulting Naoto.
Hazuki rescues him again.
Yes.
LOL, there's a theme.
Yeah. Like mere moments ago, he was at school talking with Shizuka, but now he is here. Which good.
Thank God.
Real just in time event here.
And he apparently, so you find out in a minute here that Hazuki's mom owns these hotels. So like the events are happening and he's working for his mother at the hotel.
Yeah.
And one of the other workers comes in and is like, "What are you doing harassing people?"
Yeah. It's like, actually, this nerdy dude's harassing people. Get him out of here.
Get him out of here.
Yeah.
Mom doesn't like these people.
Yeah. Yeah. Mom said you have to get rid of this guy.
Mom totally told me to tell you to get rid of this dude.
Yeah.
And then he picks up Naoto and takes him to the back room and calls him out for being a liar.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Your scent got thicker when I was hugging you. You said your medicine's effects were wearing off, but you're wrong. You've been unconsciously spreading your scent whenever you think of me. What's up with the I feel nothing, you're ignoring my feelings, Naoto-san?" And then he's about to kiss him.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do anything yet. He's waiting for Naoto to make a move.
Yeah.
And Naoto does.
Yeah.
So Naoto kisses Hazuki.
Yes. And these two finally physically express their feelings for each other.
In a very hot make-out session that lasts for quite a few panels.
Yes.
And then...
A lot of quick scrolling here. My thumb got tired.
You quick scrolled, I slow scrolled.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. But Naoto doesn't... Like, it's really funny. Naoto hasn't even been kissed before. So Hazuki got his first kiss as well as all of the other stuff. Yeah. And there's I might have wrote down here, they do have sex. And then they're talking about nodding. Do you know anything about nodding, Reno?
Yeah. The sheriff in Robin Hood that no one likes was the sheriff of Nottingham. That's all I know.
Okay. So a knot in Omegaverse is just what it sounds like. It's an extra swelling at the bottom of the penis that keeps the mating pair together until the swelling goes down. I think dogs do it too. It's something that they do. They also use a lot in a lot of werewolf romance novels. There's a lot of nodding, and it basically
cats might too. I always hear about like the reason cats are always meowing out while they're big love out in the alleyways is like that, like the male penis on a cat like has a little prong or something and causes it to stay in there. But again, not a biologist, just
again
shit I've heard.
I think dogs do it, no. But I know that in werewolf romance novels and in Omegaverse, the nodding is a thing that is kind of integral to the mating process. And then Hazuki,
I was more interested in. They were talking about bite marks around the neck, and how one of them says, "Oh, I think Naoto says it hurt. The bite marks hurt. I guess that means we're not bonded yet, or something like that." Let me see. What is that?
So omegas and alphas, but there's a scent gland in your neck. That's part of where all the pheromones come out.
Right.
And if you're bit in that scent gland.
That's how you bond.
That's how you bond, but
right.
You have to be in heat.
So that thing where Naoto was out of work for that week because in masturbating to...
okay, so they had sex, but it wasn't... There was no heat, so it didn't form
the
a
bond didn't take
this time. Instead, he just got bit a bunch.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like, they were both into it. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then finally, after the sex and the biting, they start talking.
Yeah.
Naoto finally sees how deep Hazuki had to bite himself in order to not hurt him when he went into heat that time. And
Hazuki also tells him that Yui came to me and explained everything that was going on. So
well, and Shizuki came.
Clears all that up. Oh, yeah. And also your child also came. A lot of people talked me into this, I'll be honest. Like, 8 people showed up. Your janitor boss told me to come here. Your mom told me to come here. Your daughter told me to come here.
Everyone was telling me you need to get laid.
Yui, my ex, told me to come here. Like, everyone said for me to show up here. So here I am. My mom, when I walked into the hotel, said to go. There was a dude on the street who was like, run to her.
I've been waxing poetically about you for ages now, so everyone who knows me.
My friend, told me how to be here. Yeah. I actually have this petition signed by 300 people that said I should have showed up to this.
Oh my god. No, well, I mentioned it because Naoto was saying that he's a bad parent.
Yes.
And Hazuki's like, no. Shizuki is taking care of you because you've taken care of her.
Yeah.
Like,
you were a good role model.
Safe.
That's why Shizuki came to me and said all these things and was so honest and open with me. Naoto gets embarrassed when he realizes Hazuki's mom owns the place and that they made a mess of one of the rooms.
Yeah. Also, he's a student and he hasn't ever visited Hazuki's parents and like.
Oh yeah, they skipped all the courting stages.
Yeah. They ended up straight at the high-end hotel.
That seemed weird to me though, because I'm like, in a world of Omegas, it seems like courting isn't an issue anyway. It seems like this stuff seems to happen pretty whirlwind fast. Like, you show up at an alpha dating event and 5 minutes in, you're bonded with somebody apparently.
I mean,
if you play your cards wrong or right, or happen to meet a rapist, I don't know. But yeah, it seemed weird to get hung up on. I haven't met your parents yet.
Look.
That was an odd thing for me.
All right, so Naoto says that Hazuki does say, look, I know it's presumptuous, but if you could forgive Yui, like, I know that she's not a bad person, and Naoto's like, no, next time I could tell her with confidence that I will make you happy.
Yeah.
So,
which was cute.
And it was very cute.
It's also
shows some growth.
Like, well, and from you too. Like, everybody's heart grew 5 sizes that day. Yeah, because like, you know, it took some guts for Yui to basically come up to Hazuki and be like, yeah, I tried to blackmail.
I told him to leave you alone.
Yeah, and I blackmailed him into leaving. Like, that takes a little bravery.
It does.
And
she owned up to her shit. I'm gonna give Yui some credit for that. And again,
and it's easy for Naoto to be like, yeah, I can forgive Yui. I won. I can be the bigger person. Like,
I got what I wanted here. And he's
don't have to be a sore winner here.
He's not particularly vengeful. Like,
no, that doesn't seem to be an aspect.
So we go to the next panel, which is Shizuki again, waking them up, saying, "Hey, Mr. Sleepyheads," and everybody's all happy.
And now it's the 3 of them in bed together,
which is so cute. Yeah. I love it so.
And honestly, I was like, what a happy ending. What the hell is 6.5 going to be? Like, I mean, I feel like that was a perfect end to this story. Like, you know, everybody ends happily ever after. You got some jealousy, you got some sex scenes, you got everything. You got a happy ending.
It's a good little smut.
Yeah, it's a good little story. So we headed into 6.5, and I was very
confused?
Well, not confused. I was just like, where are we going to go here? I was worried. I'll be honest. I was like, oh, I don't want to go anywhere else. Like,
this is fine.
Yeah.
This is fine. Why are we still doing this?
It was like if the story of Cinderella was just chapter 1, and then it said chapter 2. I was like, oh, God, I thought this was over. Like, happily ever after is kind of where I wanted to end this. Like,
You've never seen Into the Woods.
What are we going to do to these people, these poor people?
So, chapter 6.5 starts with a tiny Naoto going in for his first time at a clinic.
Yep.
And we open up to Suzuki sleeping in bed, and Naoto has a bite mark on the back of his neck. So Hazuki and Naoto are bonded now. That is what that is. That is it's a bite mark that will not go away.
Yeah.
That one is permanent.
Okay. Yeah, I did not know the importance of showing the bite mark.
Yeah, that is saying that they've bonded, Naoto and
yeah,
Hazuki,
I did not know the
heat.
lore of that bite mark stays forever, and I didn't know all that stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, that makes sense. And Atsuki has taken Shizuki to the aquarium.
They all went together as a real family.
They had a nice day at the aquarium. And it was interesting. Noto still tells a story of how Shizuka said she never wanted to go to the aquarium, but it was actually, she knew how uncomfortable I was in crowded places, and the aquarium is a crowded place. And so she pretended she didn't want to go for that reason. So thank you. Yeah, I don't think Naoto went to the aquarium. It's like, so thank you, Hazuki, for taking Shizuka to the aquarium.
I think they all went, but I think it's that because Naoto knows that he never would have gone by himself. So without Hazuki, Shizuki never would have got to go.
Oh, okay.
Thanks to you, Hazuki-san. Hazuki is enabling them to do things, because I know that in a future chapter they're on a train.
Yeah.
And they're all together, but Naoto is again telling Hazuki thank you, because he never would have went by himself. There's no way he would have taken Shizuki for this trip without Hazuki being around.
Gotcha.
So we have... I wrote down here, Shizuki is such an impressive child, really. Like, the way she goes out of her way to make sure Naoto is safe.
Yeah.
And then Naoto talks about how hard it was to be pregnant with a child after all that he went through.
Yeah.
And how he was terrified. He after he got raped, he didn't tell anyone. He didn't even tell his mom.
Wow.
And he went to go get some morning after pills, but he couldn't make himself go in.
Yeah.
And then after that, he found out he was pregnant. Yeah. And his first thought was, I've got to protect them. And it was such a, like, this kid only has this one parent who's going to love on him. And Hazuki's like, I'm not great with words, but if I ever found out who did this to you, I would fucking kill him. Like, he is so mad that they hurt Naoto like that. And, like...
It's a funny thing when, like, you meet people and you grow to care for them, and then you find out about stuff that happened in their youth, and you're like... Even stuff that's on a much lower level than this, like someone got bullied in kindergarten, and you're like, oh man, if I could get a hold of that kid now, like, yeah. You want to retroactively protect people you care about,
no,
which 100%. Is a very funny experience. It's a very weird feeling, but yeah, I definitely have been there.
And it's just you were in pain, and I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
That helplessness is a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
So it is perfectly reasonable, Hazuki being like, I would hurt someone.
Yeah.
If I knew who they were, there would be a thing.
Yeah, it's definitely and it's funny too, because all of that trauma and stuff, like, as much as the good experiences, and all of that is who you are today. Like, you know, if any of that had not happened, both good and bad, you would be a different person. Mm-hmm. So the person that Hazuki loves was created by all that good and all that bad. So the irony of trying to go back in time and change those things, you might create a person. You might come back to a person that is no longer the person that you love. Like, maybe not in this case, because it's all weird pheromone magic, but like in real life situations, like if you time machined back and took every bit of trauma out of the person you love's life, and then came back to the present, they might not be that person anymore.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
I want to write a story about that. That seems fun.
I enjoyed it. And this is also where Hazuki is like, do you think Suzuki-chan may be an alpha? She wasn't just holding back from going to all those places. It may be her natural instincts kicking in and wanting to keep her precious Omega away from danger.
Yeah.
And Mommy was just her precious Omega at this particular point. And Hazuki's like, I think she was doing her best with her tiny body to protect you, but her age has limits, so she decided to ask for help from the alphas that you hate. From now on, I'll protect you too.
Yeah.
And it's such a sweet interaction. Again, I love this couple.
Yeah.
We will continue to read this as these books come out because I so enjoy how loving these two are.
Yeah. Although I will say the idea that Shizuka wants to protect Naoto because alpha. It's like, seems to imply that betas and omegas never want to protect people.
I think it's more talking about her instincts because I'm sure that most, like, anyone would want to protect people.
I think your instincts is to protect people you love.
But the way she does it is by shielding Naoto until she can't do that anymore. And so she has to ask for help from someone else to shield him. I don't know that... I think what he's implying is that an Omega or a Beta would have asked a different kind of way or would have done things. Whereas what she does is she kind of like... She almost takes those burdens onto herself to protect Naoto. Like, she never asks to go anywhere. She never asks to do anything. She wants to do those things. Yeah. But she knows that the best way to protect Naoto is to not.
Gotcha.
I think that's what he's talking about.
Fair enough. And then Naoto mentions, well, if you and me have a kid... they'll probably become attached in a similar way
to Shizuki.
Yeah,
and then he's like, "Just kidding."
Yeah, because Suzuki doesn't say anything at first.
No, but I love this panel here because he's like, "I'm gonna go take a bath now," and you just get a panel of Hazuki, and it just says "horny."
Yeah, so Hazuki follows Naoto
into the bath,
and I will go ahead and say, should not have serious conversations during sex, because things that are said during sex should not be held against either person.
Hey, he mentioned
in the heat of the moment.
He mentioned that baby not having sex. He mentioned that baby just cuddling and telling Hazuki.
No. But when Hazuki comes in, it's like, yeah, I also want a baby. I want it right now. Let's do it right now. Yeah, let's make this baby. That is the conversation I'm specifically talking about. Like, I just think that it's a bad time to have conversations. I don't think anyone should be held responsible for things they say during sex. And there should be a rule. There should be some sort of unwritten rule.
You're not wrong that things said during an emotionally charged state.
Yeah, the mind is not clear.
It's not.
Yeah, but afterwards they are both happy with the decision. So in this case, no harm, no foul.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Naoto said it and then was like, "Oh shit," and ran off. Yeah. But I don't think it meant he didn't want it. I think it was just...
Oh no, he didn't like Hazuki's quiet reaction. He was like, oh, I went a step too far. Okay.
And yeah, and Hazuki is basically like, you smiled and ran away, and like, did you think that I was all rainbows and sunshine? Like, I was all smiles and rainbows? Yeah. Just like Suzuki-chan, I'm not very complacent. I am an alpha after all, and you are my omega. And so, yeah, and honestly, like, at the end, Naoto-san is thinking, knock me up. So, like...
yeah, like I say, in this particular instance, it was no harm, no foul. I'm just saying, again, to our listeners...
In real life,
have that talk beforehand. First. Yeah. Not in the heat of the moment. Yeah. So we come back to the clinic in modern day, where I assume Naoto is getting a pregnancy test to find out if, in fact, Shizuki has a daughter and Hazuki is going to be a dad, etc., etc.
Yeah. We're back in the clinic, this time with Hazuki and Shizuki clamoring about the idea of a new baby.
Yeah. Yeah, like the poor lady who's like taking taking information is like, oh my god. Just that, trying to innocently ask if the forms have been filled out yet, and like everyone's comes charging in. It's just like
Shizuki and Hazuki are both like, hey, how many days till I'm a big sister?
Yeah.
We need to know right now when this baby's gonna have. Like, they're both
they're into it. Yeah.
ready.
Oh well, I mean, kids.
It's so adorable.
A lot of kids are really excited when they first hear they're going to have a sibling.
Sometimes
Sometimes that wears off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes the kid doesn't want a sibling. But as a rule, yeah, it seems like a common, if nothing else, it's a common trope in stories.
It is. And you get a couple little panels in red at the bottom,
Yes.
which has Shizuki holding the baby
Yeah.
after he's born.
Yeah.
And
the author thanking us for reading and joining in on the line. It seemed like at this point this was going to be all there was.
I do think originally it was a one-shot, but the thing is, it is a very popular story.
Yeah.
And it is like, this is again, one of my favorite things about this manga in particular is as the story continues, you get to watch Naoto change and grow, and how much Hazuki's love allows that to happen.
Yeah. Healing.
It is so healing, and again, it's a comfort manga. Anytime I'm not feeling particularly good, I pull this bitch up and we just scroll back through all the like. It's so cute, and they love each other so much.
I surprisingly, even though again, like it is not a the sex scenes are not this particular turn-ons to me. It's not my bag, but and honestly, like cartoon and like animated sex like doesn't do a whole lot for me in general. That's so like even if this had been like two hot ladies doing a lesbian scene, it still probably wouldn't have hit any buttons for me. But the story itself I found fascinating, and like the universe, it really felt like reading a sci-fi novel with a really cool premise.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sad now to find out that this Omega thing wasn't created by this.
Yeah.
Because it was like such a cool aspect of the story. But I enjoyed it very much. Like it very much felt, like I said, like a really cool sci-fi. Because that's what all good science fiction is built on. Like, we're going to take this premise, this one bit of things are different in this way, and then see how the whole world is affected by that. Mm-hmm. And then carrying that forward. And I thought this was super. Yeah, I enjoyed this. Way more than I thought I was going to.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah, I thought, I thought it was just gonna be dicks and dicks and dicks, and I was gonna be like,
look, I do like my smut, but there has to be a little bit of plot threading the smut. Like I do.
Oh, same.
Like I enjoy my dicks.
My smut needs a story.
My smut does need a story.
I need to know.
If I wanted to watch, or if I wanted to read bad porn, I would just watch bad porn and save myself the time.
Yeah.
I do, and I mean, I do like my smut. I enjoy it, but I do want at least the semblance of a story like threading through.
Yeah.
And it is, Omegaverse is one of those things where I think that it really highlights how much women can enjoy male-on-male fantasies because they get to be outside of the whole power dynamic in it. And you still get the family and the mates and all that stuff that drive a good romance story because as horrible as it is for Naoto to have had those experiences, it is different as a woman to see that happening to a dude.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and because Naoto is your insert character for this, you experience the story through Naoto's point of view. It is a level of removal from that trauma that you don't get in a lot of stories where it would be a heterosexual relationship.
Yeah.
So I do think that that's an interesting aspect of it, and I do think that this story in particular highlights that notion. Mm-hmm. But it is also a really good story, and the characters, the actual relationship is a really green flag. The two genuinely care about each other, and as the story progresses and you get to see them get to know each other more, that care continues through. Yeah. Which is it's just a beautiful thing, and I enjoy it so much.
Yeah, it's very nice.
All right. I did write down as a last little note, it's interesting to me that some people will see someone as weaker and use that as an excuse to overpower them, and then some see people who are weaker and want to protect them. It is very telling.
Fair. Fair and accurate.
It is it's a really interesting premise for the way the whole society works, because there is an overall seems to be excused for Omegas to be treated poorly.
Yeah, I mean, it's said multiple times in this.
And it is it's an interesting thing that, like, Hazuki rejects that as someone who is in a place of privilege.
Yeah.
And he wants to protect as opposed to overpower. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate that. Like, Hazuki is an interesting character.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he's very like, the whole, I just met someone and I think they're my soulmate. Like, that part, I had that.
I don't particularly love insta-love.
Yeah,
I prefer...
like, that I wasn't, but everything else about Hazuki I thought was good.
Yeah.
Like,
insta-love is my least favorite trope.
Yeah.
Outside of, like, miscommunication. But as far as initial meetings go, insta-love, where you just automatically are like, I'm so sure that this person is my person.
Yeah.
It's a cute premise.
I like it when they're wrong. I find that fascinating. But yeah.
It's not something, because
Well, I think we have it in common. You, because, like, that's just not how love operates for you. And me, because, like, every time I've thought that, I've been wrong. So, like, it just doesn't work for us. It doesn't seem like a thing that makes sense. Yeah.
And maybe that is it, because love takes time. Mm-hmm. I don't think that it is possible to look at someone and be like, soulmate. How do you know that? What premises are you basing this assumption off of? You want to fuck them? Okay, you can want to do that without having some kind of soul bond.
Yeah.
It's just it doesn't do anything for me. I don't like it. But it still, even with that being the case, this story in particular, I do really enjoy. I love them so much.
Fair enough. Do you have any questions about it?
I do.
Big ones even?
I do have a big question, and I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of phoning it in here. Here's the thing. Like, there's not a whole lot here to work with. I mean, I wrote down alpha, beta, or omega.
Oh, like,
Reno.
Like if I had to choose.
If you had to choose, Reno. Alpha, beta, or omega.
Oh, man.
Or, I mean, you could do societal, and we could go more of a, if you could restructure the society, how would you do it?
Oh, man, that's too big. I'd rather answer alpha, beta, or omega.
Alpha, beta, or omega.
Restructuring society to fix it.
Do you think a matriarch would solve the problems?
I mean, I do not. No, I think it just changed the problems. Like, I feel it is a common mistake to believe that, like, it's and I've said this before. It goes back to that old joke of where conservatives think that, like, 5 old white men should be in charge of the world, and Democrats think, well, there should be a woman in there.
Yeah.
I don't think it solves the problem. In the same way, if Hillary Clinton was president, I don't think things would be good.
Yeah.
Like,
it would just be less awful. Or awful in a different way.
Awful. It wouldn't even be less. It'd be a different flavor of awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, because, But no, I don't know. The easy answer feels like alpha, because I feel like you're put in a society where you have all the cards and all the choices are yours and you have all the control. And I, much like Hazuki, I don't think I'm strong enough to be an Omega for sure. I could live with a beta. I could be a beta, but I suppose alpha would be the choice. But alpha comes with a lot of responsibility too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do it right, if you're not a shithead about it, which I guess is true anyway. Like,
I mean, as
a straight white male,
yeah, I was gonna say,
I've technically got the power and the responsibility, which you can tell by my lavish surroundings. I use it well, but I suppose anything but an Omega would be the super easy answer.
Fair enough.
Where do you see yourself in this universe, Cecilia? Alpha, beta, or Omega? Where do you want to be? Where?
I like having my children, so I would guess I would say Omega.
You would deal with all the Omega-ness. Yeah.
Well, I am.
I mean, you're
also,
dealing with a good 40% of it in the real world.
I am
So
also
you
a
would deal
brown
with the
woman
rest
of color.
Yeah, you've got some of it.
I'm a pansexual brown woman of color. I do feel like maybe I am checking some of the Omega boxes in real life. Who has had children? So I'm a mother. I'm a brown woman of color who has had children. Yeah. I'm checking at least some of those Omega boxes. So it probably wouldn't be drastically different from just how I am now. And I don't dislike how I am now. I dislike society, but I don't.
Like me.
I wouldn't go that far.
Fair enough. All right. Sorry, I left the room. I mean, I was within listening distance, but I left for a minute because I forgot I had not gotten our book for next time.
That looks thick.
Yeah, it's a little thick, but there's not a lot on each page. And if it turns out to be too thick, we won't do the whole thing. But in 2 weeks' time, what we are going to read is Rama 1/2. And let me tell you this, I have the oldest copy of Rama 1/2. This is...
Well loved.
Yeah, we are going to do... There's 14 parts in here. We're going to do parts 1 through 7. So
okay.
You're actually only going to read half of this. I want to see the copyright date. 1983. This is a manga from 1983.
I am going to go ahead and say problematic.
It is. Here's the thing. A lot of the stuff that you are totally into, I feel like Rama Half is an origin point of it.
Okay.
Written by a woman, Rumiko Takanashi. It is the story of a man who finds a magical... Actually, there's a whole series of these magical hot springs, these magical onsens. And when you get in them, things happen to you. And the one that he gets into causes him to, when exposed to water, turn into a woman. So another person goes to the one that turns him into a giant panda, like all the time. So they're all different. They all have different weird powers. Okay. So it is balancing a high school life as a man who occasionally turns into a woman when exposed to water and is in a sport, so therefore showers on the daily.
Okay.
I have not read this in 20 years, so possibly very problematic. But Ramaha, very famous in Japan.
Okay.
And has led to a lot of Japan, as well as the world, I dare say, gender-bending comics. Like, this is one of the... I wouldn't say it's the origin point, but it is one of the origin points of that type of literature. So, it will be... I think some of it's entertaining, if I remember it correctly, but I think a lot more it will be a very educational jumping-off point for that in Japanese history.
That's fun.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
Rama 1/2, chapters 1 through 7, or the first 7 issues, if you're reading it that way. Still available because, again, it's much like Dragon Ball in that it's just permeated Japan for a very long time.
Oh, like Sailor Moon.
Yeah, very much so. It had its in the early 80s. It had its time in the sun. But yeah, that is what we're going to read in 2 weeks. So come back for us then. And man, until then, I'm just going to make it quick. Check in the show notes. All sorts of things there, from Patreons to all of our socials, including the YouTube channel, which I realized had not been put in until now. So now, YouTube channel where you can listen, if you prefer to listen to us on YouTube, all of the podcasts are available there, as well as some old video game streams and other things like that on the YouTube channel. But yeah, check all this out. Like, share, leave comments, rate, 5-star, etc., etc. Be your own ally, and all that stuff. And come back in 2 weeks for Rama 1/2.
Bye-bye.